Hey everybody, Apex here. So I've recently got back into playing Darkside with a few friends of mine, and while playing, I've noticed a lot of hate from the community despite the many positive changes Fatshark has made since its release. And I want to make a video to really just say my definitive thoughts on the game and whether or not it's worth getting. If any of you guys don't know, Darktide is a Left 4 Dead-esque horde shooter set in the Warhammer 40k universe by the same development team as Vermintide. You are one of the many former convicts now in service to the Emperor, slaying demons and traitors while trying to bring order back to the planet. It's very common nowadays for games to release half-cooked. They've got all the right ingredients, but not just quite enough time in the oven to make a truly great project. Darktide is one of those games. On release, it was plagued by a number of issues. It had a garbage crafting and itemization system. The development team seemed more preoccupied with maintaining their cash shop rather than maintaining the game servers. The class level up trees were distinct but bare bones, and the overall amount of content was relatively lackluster. The two things going for Darktide was the gameplay and class diversity. In my opinion, the shooting and melee of this game was great. It's smooth, and honestly, I enjoy it more than Vermintide 2's combat. With plenty of specialist enemies and hordes that are going to be able to keep you busy, on your toes, and working together as a team, which is great. The classes, yes, they are bare bones, but the four classes felt extremely unique and different from each other, which is a great thing to have in this kind of game. Since its release nearly 2 years ago, Fatshark has given their players a steady release of content that has slowly optimized the game and expanded the amount of content, and I just want to take a quick look at all of the changes. With patch 1.0.20, Fatshark vastly improved game stability, helping to resolve, but not completely, fixing the serious playability issues that have been plaguing the community since launch. This update also came with new weapons for the Ogryn and Zealots, as well as a new map and finally being able to change perks on weapons. 1.0.30 added loadouts, which allowed for easier changing of character builds, a new way of purchasing gear, and the contract system with its high-tier gear for purchase. With the release of Tools of War, we got 10 new weapons and 2 new mission conditions. Rejects United brought us 2 maps and the Chaos Spawn monster. Patch 13 brought the long-awaited class overhaul, which tuned the dial up to a 10 for all of the classes. While they were already visually distinct and interesting, they lacked many of the types of builds and system for perks, which just made it overall very bland. Now the system is great with plenty of builds within each class to make even 2 psychers or 2 veterans just feel incredibly different characters. They're not really similar in any capacity. You can have a very melee oriented in your face psyker with flamethrowers and lightning, or you can have a very long range one that's sniping things from afar and supporting the team. Same thing goes for pretty much every class. You have 2 or 3 very distinct styles of gameplay that you just couldn't do before in the previous system. Patch 14 brought us a new map and plenty of fixes and tweaks for the new perks. The next month we got another map and our first look at a new boss, the Karnak twins, and 7 new weapons. Most importantly to me, we also got the addition of stims, powerful but short buffs found around the mission that really made the game feel a lot more interesting to play and each mission more fun. In May of this year, we got the new major update Path of Redemption, which massively overhauled the pendant system, which added tons of new rewards to play for. This also came with a new enemy type, puzzles in each mission, which if completed granted additional crafting materials, and finally we received Secrets of the Machine God Part 1 and 2, which added a new map and a bunch of new weapons as well as a huge host of bug fixes and game improvements. This doesn't even include everything, but by my count, in 21 months, we have received 6 maps, 5 new mission conditions, 26 new weapons, the ability to modify weapons, a new way to purchase weapons without having to rely on being lucky in the random draw of the shop, class loadouts, the contract system, high-end loot shops, a new monster, a new boss, a huge class overhaul that changed the entire way the game was played, and new optional activities to do within each mission. That is a very sizable amount of content that we have been given at no additional cost, as Darktide doesn't have any content locked behind a paywall, only cosmetics. I've seen a lot of members of the community talk about the bare bones contents we get and how the devs don't care about adding new stuff for the players to do. And I'm not quite sure where they are coming from. Yes, the content we get releases as a very slow trickle with only 1 or 2 new things at a time every couple of weeks or months, but there's always new content, and the content so far has always been free, and it's 90% of the time at least very good content with just those couple of exceptions. Darktide isn't the type of game, I think, to be played dozens of hours every single week and never stop. But it is the type of game that gets consistent content that can always bring you back for another gaming binge session with your friends every time there's new stuff to do. I think you guys forget it is a Fat Shark game. They support the hell out of their products. Take a look at Vermintide 1 and 2 on release. While they did have more total content, the releases were also received quite poorly and had a lot of issues. But Fat Shark poured years of dedication and content updates into them, which turned Vermintide 2 into one of my all-time favorite games that I've never had a bad time playing, even solo. I do want to mention briefly the new minor update that was released today. They added in a new event where it combines a boss and a condition, which is cool. The more you complete the event, the more and better rewards you get, from tens of thousands of cash to thousands of plasteel and diamantine. That is great. Unfortunately, I do think for the most part this is one of the times where Fat Shark stumbles with Darktide. If you haven't played it, sorry for the spoilers, but it's just a previous existing mission condition, the lights being off so it's darker, mixed with a previously existing boss, one of the two Karnak twins we got months earlier. Yes, it's a new combination of content to explore, but I think most people, including myself, were expecting new content entirely, not just a new mixture of pre-existing content. All in all, Darktide is an amazing game to play, and I would highly recommend trying it out for yourself. As it currently stands, the game has very few issues and tons of great free content that has been added. While it does occasionally receive lackluster content, most of the content is great, and the pieces that aren't great are still free content that can spice up the routine of the game. If Fat Shark's past is anything to go by, they're going to keep pouring support into this game for years, and it's only going to get better. Yes, the story is kind of bad. As you level up, you get cutscenes that reveal there's a traitor on board the ship, but you never interact with the traitor or the story. You never do any investigation yourself. It basically entirely wraps up within cutscenes that you never interact with. Frankly, the story just doesn't really matter. So overall, I'd give the game probably an 8.75 out of 10. It really is a great game to play, but don't play it for the story. And I don't think it's the kind of game that you can play, 12 hours every single day for an entire week. Play it with friends. It's truly an amazing experience. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble. Everyone have a great day.